Welcome to the Evolving Digital Self podcast, where we explore the conscious use of technology. Listen in to hear thought leaders and other guests discuss the human relationship with technology and learning to thrive in the digital era. Hosted by the author of the international best-selling Digital Self-Mastery series and Being at Work, Dr. Heidi Forbes Öste.
Welcome back to the Evolving Digital Self podcasts. I'm your host, Dr. Heidi Forbes Öste, and I am so excited to have you join me on this particular episode today because we're coming into the holidays and boy, do we need a little bit of help. Sometimes it's perspective and sometimes it's just remembering that it'll all be over soon. So what I want to do today is actually go through a couple different little tips and tricks that can help you survive the holidays. And of course, from the perspective of conscious technology use and how we can enhance our lives and get into more of a flow state. This is the time of year where there's a lot of gift giving, whether it's gift giving through formal practice or whether it's just that hostess gift because there's a lot of different parties happening. So there's a lot of different elements to that, whether it is remembering gratitude or actually, what do you do with all of these things? And sometimes things can create chaos. So there's 3 different things that I'd like to talk to you today about. The first one is gratitude. And I think the funny thing with gratitude and technology is that a lot of people don't really put those 2 things together. And I have to tell you, this is something that has really been a very powerful tool for me. Just like, I often use the example of when kids are having a fight and something, whatever, it's just sort of that blow up. Who knows what the actual cause was, but we pull them apart and we say, take a couple deep breaths and think of one nice thing about this person and then re-engage and say, I'm sorry. Well, we need to do that with our technology too. Because sometimes we get frustrated, whether it's, there's all kinds of different updates, for example, that we've been having lately and that cause little bits of disruption in our work or in our lives. So just step back for a moment, take a deep breath, think about all the ways that technology has enhanced our lives and enhanced our ability to reach the people that mean the most to us and our audience that we really want to reach. So take a moment to just appreciate that before you jump into the anger, the frustration, the lashing out, just being a little bit grateful. And if you can't think of anything to be grateful for, how about just looking at it from the other perspective? If it's something that's super irritating, maybe just remember that that's giving you the perspective to appreciate the things that aren't irritating for you. Let's all try to work together to be a little more grateful and appreciative of ways in which our life has been improved through technology, and that will help us actually move forward as things are rapidly evolving. The second is the giving and the receiving. At this time of year, I find that I've got 2 teenage kids. So, we've got a lot of little bits and pieces of technology everywhere and just the chaos of trying to know, whose chargers where, when we're traveling, does everybody have all their devices and what still works, what's broken, what should maybe be retired and recycled, all of these little bits and pieces, or sometimes I have to admit, I and my kids and I were all kind of spoiled because part of my work is I test all kinds of different devices and things. So we've got a lot of the things that are the latest and the greatest. And when somebody makes an effort to think of you and give you something that they think that you will really enjoy, and it may not necessarily be that most updated thing or whatever, whether it's a present from a grandparent or whatever it is, but just remember it in the context and really appreciate for what it is. They're trying to enhance your life in whatever way it can, or to reach out and to engage with you on the same level. And if you are, your first reaction is, well, I already have that, or that thing's outdated. Not really a great way to engage. So let's think about how we can be a little more sympathetic and a little more empathetic and just really appreciate what we have. The other thing is, there's sort of this funny thing around that same space of, do we really need to upgrade? Sometimes we don't. Just getting out of that consumerist mode of, well, I have last year's model, so I need the next. Yes, if you need the new functionality, and it's sort of that balance between need and want, and surviving the holidays, really it's a lot about recognizing what we need and what we want, and putting those into perspective. And, of course, easier said than done, right? Understanding what needs are is it's a really good practice to get in with your kids and with yourself. It'll save you lots of money, for one thing, but it'll also help you really think about where you're going with your consumption and with your needs. And maybe if your needs aren't being met, then maybe it is time to upgrade. If you're spending a lot of time fixing things that aren't working well, or your phone, you're constantly spending time dumping things off there because it's getting overfull, well, maybe you need to find a better system. Maybe you need to upgrade, or maybe you need to find a better backup system. It's all about thinking about what your real needs are rather than your wants, and putting those into perspective as to where we want to go with our business and our lives, where we get really the best output and the best value added, and we really focus on those things that are high value for us. And the last piece is just a little bit more about caring and taking care of those things that we already have. So maybe this is a good time to talk about need and want. Maybe it's a good time to go through and do a sort of a full survey of, what do you have? And what are you not using? And what could you maybe donate? And what things maybe actually need to be thrown away or recycled? Look at your cables, see if you've got frayed ends. Those are not only dangerous, but they're damaging, they're damaging to your devices because they're not getting the full communication and power that they need. So it's a time to really reevaluate, look at where we're at, take some time to have conversations around that. Recommended conversation around the dinner table. Have everybody pull out their devices and just look at, sort of play a game. Like, how many apps do you have on there? How many do you actually use? What are you using? Find out, what your kids are using. What, are they using a meditation app? Maybe they've got something to share with you, or maybe you have something to share. Maybe you'd both like to be listening to the same podcasts. All kinds of great stuff out there. Have a moment to actually have a conversation about what that dynamic is. And I think it gives you a way to engage, but it also gives you a way to really understand what your current needs and wants are, as well as your family members. You can do the same thing with your peers at work when you're trying to look at whether you need to upgrade. Sometimes maybe the whole system needs to be upgraded, or maybe sometimes you're not using it very effectively. So it's a time for us to reevaluate and get perspective on our use and our behavior around it and our response to that. So those are my tips for the holidays, and I hope they help. And I would love to continue the conversation on the Facebook group, the Digital Self-Mastery Facebook group. I'd love to hear what you are doing for your tips to improve your relationship with technology and to survive the holidays. So come join us there. And don't forget to subscribe and share. And look forward to having you join us again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for the Evolving Digital Self. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app now so that you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, please give us a rating and a review, and join the Digital Self-Mastery movement to create more conscious use of technology by sharing it and telling your friends. Want to see where you fit on the digital self spectrum and how it might be impacting your business and relationships? Get your free copy of Digital Self-Mastery today by clicking on the link in the show notes.